In this video tutorial, I want to go over the steps that you need specifically for your first homework assignment. For your first homework assignment, I'm asking you to go out and to take pictures of points and lines that you see in your environment. You can use your cell phone. If you have a digital SLR, you can use that. This is going to be kind of low quality for the web, so I think probably anything that you have that can take a photo will work. So walk around, look for these things because a big part of graphic design is just simply seeing, learning to see, visual thinking. So that's why we're going to start out. This is kind of like a warm up for your eyes assignment. And then we're going to bring them into Photoshop. We're going to crop all of the images to be the same size and align them. Put your point on the first row, put your lines on the second row. And then I want you to look at these points and lines that you've captured. And for the points, I want you to think about, do they pierce the space? Do they pucker this in the space? Do the lines join the space or do they cut through the space? This is kind of subjective. So it's really kind of how do you see it? And I'm going to give you some feedback if I see things a little differently or if I agree with you. So it's not necessarily a right or a wrong, but I do just want you to spend a little bit of time and try to figure that out. It also may depend simply on the crop that you make. If your point is right in the middle of the space versus up at the corner, it actually can change if it seems to pierce the space or not. Then the next thing we're going to look at is, does this action activate the space around it? So now that I've pierced the space, does this seem to be active or does it seem to just be really passive? Like there's no connection between these two here. And that's what you're going to write as the second line, the second word here. So first I'm writing, does the point pierce it? And then after piercing it, does it activate it? Most of the time it does activate it if it pierces it. Okay, so let's go back over to Photoshop. And if you skipped over the interface video tutorial, all I did was I went up to File, Open, I looked for my graphic design folder, and I opened up all of my images that I had took for this project. And they all opened up as tabs here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my new document in the size that I asked you to. I'm going to go up to File, New. And over here in my panel, I'm going to first of all make sure it's on pixels. And I asked you to make this at 900 pixels by 600 pixels high with a resolution of 72. Resolution is how much digital information is in the image per inch, and computer monitors are typically at a resolution of 72 or 96. So our first assignments are going to be for the web only, and that's why they're going to have a resolution of 72 because they're set up for computer monitors, not for print. And I'm going to hit create. And here's my document. I want to point out that I'm seeing it at 50%. So one of the tools that we'll be using a lot for this exercise is all the way down at the bottom of my toolbar, and that's the zoom tool. And if I click on that, there's a little plus you may see in the middle of your magnifying glass. I click on it and I'm zooming in. And so now if I look up my tab, I see that I'm actually now viewing it at 66%. If I go up to my options bar, I can switch this to be a zoom out tool. On a Windows, you can also hold the Alt key down and it switches back and forth between it being a zoom in and a zoom out tool. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to go to my images, crop them, and then I'm going to copy and paste them into here. So I'm going to I'll start with this one. This was the line that I captured and I thought was kind of interesting. So over my toolbar, I'm going to look for the crop tool. I'm going to select that by clicking on it. And I'm going to go up to my options bar and choose WH resolution. That allows me to put in the specific width, height, and resolution I want. I already have mine set up, but you can see, so you put 200 px in the first bar, 200 px in the second bar, 72 px. Well, actually, you don't need to put the px because that's included, or make sure it's on px in the last bar. That gives me a preliminary crop. I can grab these anchor points and I can drag this in and out, and it's going to move my crop. So I don't really have to worry about um, the resolution or anything. Photoshop is going to take care of this. So I can make this whatever size I want, but I don't want to make it too small because then it's going to actually enlarge it for me. And so once I found kind of the crop that I like, and by that I mean, where is it interesting to have this line? It makes a difference if this line is happening right up at the top and I have not as much white, or if it's kind of more towards the middle. It ends up affecting the space differently, right? So if it's right here in the middle, these are equal, versus if it's towards the top, this is more dominant and then there's not as much of this. So does it make this space more active or more passive is the question I want you to think about. So once you've made this preliminary selection, so again, I'm just clicking and dragging here, but don't go too small, and you're moving it around, you're going to go up to your options bar, and there's this part here that says delete cropped pixels. We're going to leave that off, so uncheck it if it is checked for right now. And then to finalize our crop, we're going to go all the way to the end of the options bar and click on the check mark. And now it looks like my image is really tiny, but I'm only viewing it at 12%. So now I'm going to go over to my zoom tool and I'm going to zoom in, keep clicking it until I'm up at 100%. And now that's the way my image looks. But what's kind of cool is that because I didn't actually delete the image behind it, if I take my move tool, the top tool here, and I click into my document, I can move it around and I can still access the other part of my image, the rest of it. So even though I made this crop, I'm not completely committed to it. So I think that's kind of cool. If I had selected delete cropped pixels, I wouldn't be able to do that. So you can kind of keep tweaking this and decide what you like. I think it looks more interesting if I have this line up at the top. I think it creates a little more kind of like contrast in the image versus if it's just right in the middle and this is equal to this, I think it's not as exciting. So I'm going to put my crop up here. All right, and now I'm going to use some keyboard shortcuts. First, we need to select it all, which is Control A, or you can go up to Select All, Control A, then Control C to copy it, or Edit, Copy. So I have selected it and I've copied it, and now I'm going to go to my new document, select that, and paste it. Control V or Edit, Paste. And I'm viewing this at 400%, so I'm going to zoom out to 100%. Actually less because I'm on my laptop, so my screen's kind of small. And I can take my move tool and I can move this over to here. Now I had asked you to use the guides to be able to help you with your alignment. So I'm going to go up to View, Show, Grid. And that gives me all my guides here to help me align my image. All right, let's do one more together. So let's take a point example. So same thing, I'm going to go to my crop tool, and it's already set up at that 200, 272, so that's great. And I'm just going to, actually, I'm just going to crop it like this, and then I can go and move things around. So going up to, I'll do a little bit of a tweak here. Going up to my options bar, make sure delete cropped pixels is not selected, and then I'm going to hit the commit check mark. And now it's only at 16%, so I'm going to take my zoom tool, zoom in to 100%. I'm looking to see that number up there. That's 100%. And if I want to try to move things around, I didn't have a lot of extra space in this one, so I can kind of only move things up or down. And again, just kind of make a note, like, is it more interesting to have the point towards the bottom, right in the middle, or up here? Does it end up changing how we see the space here? I think I tend to like things a little bit off center, so I'm going to keep mine a little bit towards the bottom. And now I'm going to select all, which again is Control A on a PC, or you can go up to here, select all, and then copy it, and then go over to my new document and paste it in, which is zoomed in at 400%. I'm going to zoom out and paste. And there it is. So that would be up here. I'm going to zoom out even a little bit more. And I can use this to start aligning things. And then if this becomes distracting, you can go back up to up to View, Show, and uncheck Grid, and it turns it off. So I want you to have that on for your alignment. Your goal is to try to get even spacing in between all of yours. So you're going to continue with this. You're going to have 4 examples of point, 4 examples of line. And the last step is to now add the text. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to also, just to point out, so I've zoomed in and now I want to kind of move around on my document. I can take the hand tool and that allows me to move around what I'm seeing on my screen here. So I also do want to put the guide back on. So I'm going to go back to my grid. And now I'm going to take the text tool. We're covering an awful lot just with this first assignment, right? We're learning a lot of different things in Photoshop. So I took my text tool, and up here is where I can find the font that I'd like to have. And, for right now, I'm just going to take Futura, and I'm going to choose medium. So if you don't have this font, you don't have to have this, but let's try to find something that's kind of simple looking. I don't want it to look like cursive or anything fancy. So I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to start with a smaller font size, such as 12 points. We're going to change that. For my alignment, I don't want to have any kind of alignment, so I'm going to have that right to the left alignment. And over here, I'm going to choose my color. I'm going to click on that and go down and choose black and click OK. And now the text tool you can work with in 2 ways. You can either click on it and I can just start typing. So I could say pucker active, and then I'm going to hit the check mark, and that confirms it. It looks a little bit blurry because I'm viewing my image at 200%, so I'm going to zoom out and you can see what it would look like at 100%. So I could do it like that, or I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to take my text tool again, and this time I'm going to click and drag. I'm holding down the mouse and I'm creating what's called a bounding box. So that's the spot where I can put my text in. And I'm going to put down here that this pierces. And I think it cuts the space. And I'm going to go up here and commit to it. So let's say I want to edit. Oh, see, I made a mistake here. It has L in front of it. I want to edit my text. I'm going to open up my layers panel. And if I don't see it over here, I'm going to go up to Window and choose Layers. You may already have it open. Here's my Layers panel. I'm going to click this and drag it out so we can see it a little bit better. Expand it down. And you may notice that you actually have several layers already. One layer, if I'm going to click on the eyeball, I can turn it off, was for my line down here, and one layer up here was for my point up here. Each line of text comes onto its own layer. If I need to edit the text, I'm going to double click the T right here in my layer panel, and that makes that editable. And so now I could get rid of that L, and I can select this and also go up to the options bar and choose a larger font size. And commit to it and do the same thing for this one. Double click it. It's now active. I can edit it and choose a larger font size as well. Okay, so as you're moving and want to arrange things, the easiest way to be able to arrange your different images and even your text is with the Move tool. And what I would suggest having is Auto Select On. If you have Auto Select on, you just click on the object and Photoshop will automatically find the correct layer that it's on and make that active. So now I could click and move this around. If you don't have Auto Select on, when you use the Move tool, it's only for the layer that you have selected here. So if I want to move this one, I have to go and select that layer, then I can move it. So if you have Auto Select on, it does it for you. I click up here, it chooses it. I click down here, it chooses it. Okay, so you're going to continue with this, and what I'm really looking for is nice alignment. And the last step would be saving this. So you're going to go up to File, Save As, and you want to choose from your drop-down menu here. For this assignment, I would actually save it in two ways. One, the Photoshop file, because that's going to preserve your layer so you can go back and edit it. And I'll just call this my test one because it's not done. Saving it as a Photoshop file. And so if I wanted to open that up again, it would look just like this with all my layers. And then I'm going to save a version that's JPEG, and that's going to compress my image to make it smaller, and it will only have one layer. So that one I won't be able to edit. Okay, and just to show you, I'm going to open that one up. Where is this? This is my test JPEG. So this is test JPEG. The grid, by the way, is not actually saved. That's just still on. So this is what you're going to end up submitting to me. It's going to be the JPEG one. But in terms of you won't be able to go back and edit it because it's all been condensed into one layer. So that's why I would say keep always a copy of your Photoshop file so you have all your layers. So if you need to go back and edit or move things around, it's really easy to do that. Okay, so that's definitely enough for this first video. Let me know if you have any questions.